It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Surprise! I'm back. Welcome into another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. No Brooke Pryor. No, I am not Brooke Pryor. I'm Zachary Smith. Back on the show a day earlier than planned. Brooke dealing with some technical difficulties. Alan texted me literally as I was walking my door. Have not unpacked yet. Have not thrown anything in the laundry. I had to jump back on the pod. Happy to be here though, Alan. How we doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah, Brooke said she's without power for maybe another 4 hours, they're saying. So we didn't want to make you wait that long.
Midnight drive.
We will get Brooke back on at some point, I promise. So apologies for that, but what a great second option. You know, it's great when the fallback plan is just, let's have the regular host on. He's available.
Yeah, much better. The podcast 2 situation, much better than the Steelers wide receiver 2 situation, I would say. I'll be honest, though. I know you wanted to probably ask about the trip and stuff like that. I'll just jump right into it. I have never felt the sunburn that I got, like specifically on my feet. First off, it's the most uneven sunburn that I've ever had in my life. And from a pain standpoint, honestly, it probably looks worse on the significant portions of my body other than on my feet. 100% looks the party and feels the part. That is the part that is killing me. Legitimately, like, I had to Google, what should I do for feet that are so sunburnt that they are swollen? So I was like, I got to soak my feet in some cold water after this or something. But fun trip overall. Did a lot of mini golfing. Spent some time on the beach prior to this happening. Had a couple poker nights within there as well with the boys. It's a good trip. Just get away, unplugged for a little bit. If you're watching or listening to this, you know that I deactivated my Twitter prior to going on vacation, just to completely unplug. Much needed. But don't get me wrong, definitely happy to be back in the saddle here.
Yeah, how was the no Twitter thing? I'm curious about that. Not that I'm going to try it, but I'm intellectually curious.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, I know that I can't do that. Like, while doing this, I'm not able to do that. So knowing that I wasn't going to be doing the podcast for a few days, I was like, this is the time where I can do that. Just completely like unplugged from Twitter, only going to go on Instagram when I'm posting something cool on my story about what we're doing or whatever. So yeah, I mean, I was like, other than one of my boys that I was with telling me a couple updates here and there, what was going on, like completely unplugged, had no clue what was going on. If it wasn't for them telling me, I would have no clue what was going on, like in the world. You know, there was a couple things that went down on that trip. But like even in sports, Kevin Durant got traded. Had I not been with my boys, John and Matt, wouldn't have even known that had happened. Didn't see it. So like, yeah, I would have missed out on a lot, but not in a bad way. Like that's not every once in a while. That was something that I would do before I was kind of like in this space and kind of felt like I needed to be on social media, was just deactivate for a little bit and recharge. So I wanted to take the opportunity to do that when I felt like I didn't need to be on social media. But yeah, I mean, I would say that it went well. Interesting for sure, because it's just very different from the lifestyle that I typically lead day to day.
That sounds awesome. I know you're saying you're feeling a little bit burnt out, so I hope you got the batteries recharged.
When you were telling me, like, that's why last week when we talked about the thing with Noah Hiles on an episode of here, I had missed that until you brought it up to me. And I was like, dude, like that totally resonates with me. And I was worried about like putting it out there and talking about it, that I would kind of get the same backlash where people would come at me. But like, I don't feel like anybody should ever apologize for feeling burnout with whatever it is. Like the people that are commenting back aren't leading the life that person is. So like their situation is unique to them in whatever way. Now, there are some people that maybe in the same space feel like they can understand, but even like they don't have the same makeup top to bottom as that person. So everybody has their own thing that they need to do. For me, like that was it. This is where kind of just like I was at the point in time where I was feeling burnt out from everything, not just like, and it wasn't like me saying, hey, I don't feel like I can do the podcast or anything like that anymore, but like definitely a few days away from this, away from work. Much needed, much appreciated, and but definitely 100% glad to be back here now.
All right, so let's catch you up on what happened while you were gone. I mean, not a whole lot other than Iran. I don't know if you need me to explain that to you, or if you're good on
I got
global current events.
I got it. Yep. That's what I was saying. That it wasn't just in sports that stuff was going down while I was gone. But
so let's start with Aaron Rodgers yesterday. Joined the Pat McAfee show. Ranted about his lack of privacy, and also said that this is probably his last season in the NFL. Sort of gave himself an out a little bit. But what's your first glance thoughts about Rodgers being one and done as a Steeler?
Well, it's what I expected, but at the same time, I don't know that I expected that to come out of his mouth. I kind of thought he would say, like, we haven't even played a game there yet. Let's wait and see how things even go before I make a decision on that. So relatively surprised. Again, not 100% definitive, but even to the point where it was like very much alluding to it being it. It's funny, like, we were supposed to have Brooke on here. She got him to say something I didn't think he was going to when he spoke about being married, when she asked him about that. That was like the one other time where I was like, well, didn't expect that answer. Didn't expect him to give her anything there. And he did. Didn't expect him to give Boston. I think Boston Connor was the one on there that asked him the question about that, where he said, this is probably it. Didn't expect that answer to be so blunt. 100% expected that he would be one and done. Didn't know that it would be so, again, maybe leaving the door open a little bit, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think it's the continued gray area means I just think everything I thought before, which is like, it's pretty likely this is going to be his last year, but maybe there's a chance that it's not. What do you make of his sort of, and I don't know if you listened to the whole thing.
I did. Yeah, we were actually back at the Airbnb during it and watched the entirety of it.
Went on a lengthy rant about his privacy, what he's going to do after football. Seems upset about people taking pictures of him on the beach. Mike Florio, who doesn't ever pull any punches, with the hilarious Twitter caption on his story: Aaron Rodgers wants your attention so that he can tell you he doesn't want your attention when he retires. What do you make of this? And I don't know, I think it kind of ties in a little bit with your desire to unplug this week. Do you feel like NFL players have a greater right to privacy than they are currently afforded? Or do you think this is all part of the deal?
I mean, I think that's it. And like, he even kind of acknowledges that. I think he was speaking more from a space, or at least it seemed like I'm sure he himself would also like to have that privacy, but he seemed pretty like trying to protect his wife more than anything else within that. Like, he wanted her to be able to keep his if you take his word at face value, it was more about her than him, than anything else. Like, he understands the spotlight that he is in because of the career that he is in. And like you said, I mean, that comes with the territory. So whether he likes that or doesn't like that, he has to accept that. And he has now for 20 years. So I don't know. I walked away thinking it was more about her than it was him, but certainly if he had his choice, he talked like he would never want to be in the public eye. And will he completely disappear once his playing days are over, which again sounds like it's going to be this year? Maybe, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's still making, regular appearances on Pat McAfee. When I say regular, like, once a week or something like that on Pat McAfee's show or whatever. And I'm sure he'll find his way into headlines and articles, putting opinions out there, furthermore away from football as he retires. So I don't know. I think he understands that it comes with the territory, whether he likes that or not. And I think very much dislikes that. It is what it is. But this isn't like the first time that he's had that thought put out there. I think it was just more aggressive this time. And I think, again, it was because of his partner and trying to keep her privacy.
Yeah, I think he was real mad about Ed Thompson getting that picture of him in the Malibu.
I want to see the one put out there. I heard him talking about he like flicked off the camera, but I didn't I don't know if it surfaced anywhere.
I think I was talking about the people on the beach there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But like, I mean, taking pictures of him on the beach is weird. I don't know. I think I'd draw the line at like things that have nothing to do with your career. Like, just as someone who sort of operates in this space, like, obviously the paparazzi and I are not related, but we are sort of in the same enterprise. Like, I don't see any value of a picture of Aaron Rodgers on the beach. I don't see the name or the identity or a photograph of someone who a football player is married to or is dating as being like newsworthy in of itself, unless that person is already on their own newsworthy. Like Travis Kelce dating Taylor Swift is one thing. Like, for me to like, let's say I found out, it's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers is married to this person, and here's a picture of them together in a private moment, and here's my exclusive. And I'm like, that to me is like, it's kind of gross. I don't really approve of that lane of journalism, and I kind of get why, like there have been times where I don't know, Zach Frazier gets engaged, right? Okay. And so we're going to put up a little story, nothing major, just and I need to know his fiance's name. So you Google Zach Frazier's girlfriend, Zach Frazier, not the world's highest profile NFL player by any stretch of the imagination. And there's gross details about his girlfriend online just because she's dating an NFL player. I'm like, why? This is, I don't know. That feels, That feels like something that I would be upset about if I were in their shoes.
Well, I think that's where kind of what I was saying, where you just kind of have to accept that it's going to happen. I guess that's the part that he's pushing back against. Why do we have to accept that it's going to happen just because he is a public figure? So yeah, I could certainly understand where that's coming from. I wasn't saying, my opinion's not necessarily that it's right. It's just kind of accepting that it happens. But again, maybe he's trying to change the fact that does his occupation shouldn't dictate the amount of publicity that he gets when he's not doing his occupation.
Yeah. And it's one thing when you do things publicly, you want to go to a concert and be in the crowd in public. Well, that's going to be made a big deal out of, you want to support a political candidate. People are going to make a big deal out of that. But there have to be times and places where they can choose to be private as well. And
especially if they're making the conscious effort to do so.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting because there's a similar thought. A lot of people were, I don't know, did you watch Game 7 of the NBA Finals while you were on vacation?
Yes. Yeah,
there
was the
some
first time
similar thoughts from people about the number of replays of watching Tyrese Halliburton's Achilles explode in high definition at full zoom. And it's to me, I'm always the person that says you want to capture the moment of things happening that are newsworthy. That doesn't mean you have to there's a fine line where it goes from here's what happened to it being an exploitative usage where you're it's like gore. It's it crosses over from yep, right here you can see it is definitely his Achilles exploding to okay, why are you showing it the 9th time? And I think that's a part of that
in on it
too. Yeah. I always tell Ed Thompson, somebody gets hurt at the game, I want you in there taking pictures, and then I will decide later how much of it we want to use, how much of it we need to use. But you never know what of that is going to be important in the moment. Go capture it all, and then we'll sort it out later.
Well, so let me ask you a question based off that then, a situation that you would have had to have made that type of call on, the Nick Chubb injury that happened at Acrisure Stadium, where they started to show the replay on the big board, and then I think they realized how bad it was, so then they just took the screen to black. But how was that done from a site perspective?
Yeah, I think we have we ran a picture of the injury where you can it's not his you can his knees in half or something like that, but it's a picture of the hit, and you can see that his knee is being torqued pretty significantly, but it's not a position that you don't ever see football players in. And then I think from there we ran a shot of him on the cart with a trainer and his teammates around him, obviously has some pain on his face. But you don't want to be, you want to tell the story of what happened, and you want to show people what happened without, like I said, I actually love one of the pictures from that series from Ed, and Ed's so good. I don't give him enough credit for everything he does because, gosh, is it awesome having him. And I think we're the only outlet that has like a dedicated photographer that is always at everything Steelers. And man, is it awesome to have. But like you have these shots where it's the hit, and then you have, Chubb sort of sitting, and then you have him up on the cart, and there's a shot of Minka standing there with his head down, eyes down. Like, I think these pictures, those images do tell a story, and there's news value in them. And, I'm not sitting here like making memes out of them either. Like you kind of have to treat them with some deference that you don't necessarily have to every piece of the catalog.
And man, as you were saying that, kind of unrelated, but that's just like something special when it comes to a good photographer. Is I could look at a picture and from somebody else of that exact same thing or like a similar shot and it not tell me anything, but then I could look at a picture that Ed got, basically same circumstance, and it actually like be able to tell me a story just by looking at the picture. No words, no video, nothing else besides that one shot. And yeah, as you pull up right here, oh man, yeah,
a couple here of those are tough decisions, but I think I love this picture, right? Like this is where you're really getting to, like, you can see the emotions of what's happening even with just a still image. And so Ed's the best. But yeah, like I always tell him, like, get everything you can, and then I'll figure out what we need to do in terms of like what's the balance between newsworthiness and respect for the individuals that we need to strike here as an outlet.
Unrelated, but I want to rewind on the Aaron thing that we were just kind of talking about there with it being his last year. Do you think that there is an issue with him saying that, whether it be like actually or just even optically, that, he's not going to be all in? He already has 1 foot out the door if he knows this is going to be it.
I don't think there's any difference with him saying it. If he's already feeling it, saying it doesn't change anything to me.
I agree. Yeah. Well, that's kind of like what I saw people saying was, it's one thing to feel that way, but to say it's a different thing. I'm like, is it though? Like, what does it matter if he's feeling that way, whether he says it or not? I don't know. But like, okay, so then from like a real perspective though, if that is his mindset, do you think that there's an issue there, or do you still expect, like, he's going to empty out the gas tank this year? And I guess you could honestly throw Darius Slay in that same bucket.
Yeah, I mean, you always know in football that you don't know how many years you have left. When you get over a certain age, any year can be your last. I feel like everybody over 30 playing football is playing like this could be it. I don't think.
And how many great years did Ben Roethlisberger have?
Very few football players get to go out on their terms. Very few. Usually the game decides for you.
Yeah, how many great years did Ben Roethlisberger have after he first brought up the idea of retirement? Like, it was on his mind, and he was still playing great football even afterwards.
Yeah.
So
he also rehabbed a major injury afterwards, and still,
yeah, definitely still played the game of football. Anything else come out of Aaron that we wanted to talk about, or you've probably discussed?
Yeah, we talked a lot about it with Noah yesterday. The other thing that happened this morning, or late last night, I guess. News came out that George Pickens will not be showing up for his youth football camp after he had said that he was going to, even after the trade. Pat Freiermuth's going to step in. A couple other Steelers players are going to step in. Just when the Steelers players thought they were done having extra work on their plate, thanks to George Pickens, he's got one more for him here. Yeah. What was your thoughts when you saw that come across the old group chat?
Well, my thought was, let me go text Pat and find out why he didn't tell me that he was now having a camp. So I texted him, and he said that they called him just yesterday about it. And his response was, in quotes, sure. So all he's doing, he's coming back at, a day or two early. That's the same week that they start training camp later in the week. But But I mean, he's super excited about it. He's done his own the previous 2 years just because of his schedule and stuff. Like he's going to Malibu, obviously with Aaron. He's got a house that he's renting for the 4th of July with some of his boys back home and stuff. His brother's getting married while he's also in the process trying to plan his own wedding. So he wasn't going to do one this summer, but hey, a spot opened up. They needed somebody. They knew who to call. Give 88 a call. He'll be there. And which means I will now be in attendance on July 20th for Pat's football camp.
It's not July 20th, is it? It's supposed to be June. Oh,
they moved it to July 20th. Yeah,
to July 20th. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
I think it's obviously a bad look to bail on a bunch of kids, but also like if I was advising George Pickens, I would have told him, "Don't do this. Nothing good is going to come out of this for you." Like he should have just told them from the beginning.
Yep. That was my thing. I think if he cancels this as soon as he gets traded, no issue on my end about it.
Right.
There's like people that would have had an issue still, but it would have been very justified in my opinion.
100%. Send Pat a text, send the Steelers a text, send somebody a text and say, "Hey guys, do you think somebody else can do this for these kids? It just feels weird for me now." And there would have been 100% understanding of that. This, I think I'll be honest, it still looks bad. I'm not, like, if my kid was sitting there holding a ticket to this event, even as of, like, this weekend, I'd have been like, "I don't know, kid, we'll see what actually happens." Like, I don't think anybody should have been, like, putting all their hopes in George Pickens being there because it doesn't make any sense for him to. And also, he's just proven to generally be kind of an unreliable guy. He doesn't even show up for his own team's games, so why would he show up for?
Well, here's the thing.
Camp?
Yeah, somebody DM'd me on Instagram that their kids were going to the event, and like they were DMing me just to they were like, "Hey, can you please tell Pat thank you for doing this?"
Yeah.
Like, still able to go to the event and stuff like that. And they said they had actually bought tickets. They were waiting till after the draft because they thought if George was going to be traded, it was going to be during the draft. And then when they bought tickets, they reached out to them and like expressed concern about what was going to happen with George if he does get moved or whatever. I guess like from George's side, and whether they should have bought this or not, then that is what it is. But I guess like George's people told them, regardless of what happens, he's going to do this event. Like they knew that the trade was a possibility, but even beforehand gave assurance that if it happened, he was still going to do it. So like kind of doubling down on the idea, hey, even if he was moved, he was going to be there. Yeah. Like, I think full context to me, it looks worse. But again, I think had he just, the trade goes down 2 months, you get like what, a month and a half advance from when this event would have been the original scheduled date. Like
more than that.
Yeah.
Like 7 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think then easy to sell at least. Again, I'm not somebody that was attending the event, didn't have a kid attending the event. So I got maybe a different perspective here, but at least on that timeline and with all that in consideration, I think 100% would have made sense. I just think now the way that it went down, doubling down, saying he was going to be there and then backing out, forcing them to change the date, find somebody else to do it, and a group of guys, it sounds like Pat's the main guy that they're saying right now, but hopefully other guys could be involved. It's a bad look. And it's a bad look for a guy that's had a bunch of those.
Yep, for sure. On the other hand, I know that you and Pat are fairly close, but I don't think anyone was surprised that it was 88 that stepped up to the plate and said, "Yeah, I'll do it." I think I wrote in my my 90 thoughts, all of my thoughts about Pat Freiermuth were related to leadership. It was all about how last year I said, look, this is a guy who he's a fun person. He's fun to be around. He's happy-go-lucky. He's always smiling when he's out there or making some ridiculous face that's making other people smile. But there was a seriousness to him last year that I noticed that was different. I kind of attributed that to contract negotiation that he was going through that kind of, I think for a lot of guys, puts the business of what they're doing into perspective a little bit. Obviously that's long gone now. And I think he stepped it up even another notch to where I think Pat Freiermuth is the unquestioned offensive leader of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think it's the first time they've had a homegrown person that you can call a leader since who was last, Pouncey or DeCastro? DeCastro, I guess, outlived him by 4 months or whatever. That's the last time you really had one of those guys. And I think it's really, really noticeable, not just the difference in Pat, but like the way the offense does not feel like the kids section anymore. Even though it is a much younger side of the team, I think there is a real maturing that has happened where, yes, it's a lot of younger players, but they kind of know where they're going and what they're all about.
All right. I want to make this about me. No, but was having a serious but like in all seriousness, this is 100% conversation that happened. Pat said through our friendship, he realized, like, not that he didn't already, but realized more, and it really ingrained in him how much like this team means to this fan base. Like having an actual friendship with a fan made him realize what that was like and made him want to put forth even more work. Like regardless of what Pat does on Sunday, you're never questioning the work ethic that goes into leading up to that day. At this point, I think it's pretty clear that he wants it. And I think you need more guys kind of with that same mindset. And I think the Steelers intentionally going about business that way, finding the guys that share that mindset. I also think, like, I mean, he said this to me too. I know you brought up the contract and everything like that. There's not a lot of guys, especially on that side of the ball now, that we've seen sign a second contract. And I think he took that as them kind of saying, hey, here's this. Here's us rewarding you. How are you going to reward us back? Like, we know what you're capable of, but go in, like, let's take it a step further from a leadership perspective. And he's kind of worn that as a badge of honor in doing so. So like the conversations that we've had now kind of, you know, regarding that thing, like it's certainly something that is on his mind day in and day out, as he wants this. Like he wants to be the offensive leader, somebody that people can rely on and kind of like look at as an example, not just through the words that he says, but just watch him work and kind of learn from that. Yeah.
And I think it was always going to have to happen for the Steelers to get to where they want to go. But I think it's really awesome to see. And just what a juxtaposition, right? You have the very talented player that the Steelers decided they did not want to be part of their future solely because of his personality, not because of his abilities on the football field, bailing on a kids camp, and the guy that they, let's be honest, rewarded with a huge contract before he had ever paid them off in any kind of statistical way for having done so. I mean, we talked last offseason a lot about how, like, look, you line up the numbers, they don't look like the player that we see, you know, the capabilities. He was held back by the offense and by the quarterback and by the coordinator and all these things, but like we and injuries, we never really see, like, they kind of went out on went on a limb to pay him like kind of before he had earned it. And then, you know, this is the kind of guy you get in return, the kind of person. I've said it before. I think I've said it before on this podcast. I think Omar Khan is very serious about remaking the Steelers culturally. And when I talk to the draft picks, there isn't a bad guy that Omar's drafted. Like they're to a man, like well-spoken, positive people, right attitude. Like there are no bad apples here. And you could kind of go a year or two thinking, oh, that's just a coincidence. You certainly can't go 3. You certainly can't see what they did in the terms of the timelines. They got rid of Deontay Johnson and George Pickens and not feel like it's intentional at this point.
Yeah. And I know what the comments are going to say. Obviously, you got to be able to play too.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
The talent has to be there. If they're just great guys, but don't stack up around the rest of the league from the level of skill, then it's not going to matter. But when you have that level of buy-in, like that's certainly important. I think it's overlooked a lot because of the skill. But yeah,
and I think it matters more when you don't have those like long-term leaders around you when you are a young team. I think it matters a little bit more. I think, you know, when we've seen time and time again where like a sort of trouble player or a problem player bounces around the league, and then he ends up on a team full of winning veterans, and then all of a sudden he gets his act together, right? And it's like, well, it's because you put him in a structure that could absorb that, right? That had enough leaders to keep him on the straight and narrow. But when you have a young team, you don't have that. The Steelers are not just chock full of leaders to keep people on the right path, especially on offense where they're very young. I think not having the bad apples is a lot better than having to get rid of them 2 or 3 years into their time and trading them for pennies on the dollar compared to what they're worth because you're just so sick of their problems.
And last thing I want to say on this, and then we're already at 30 minutes, but I got to bring up the Deontay thing real quick. The best thing about Pat and the best indication of the guy that we're talking about, like completely thrown off by the reaction. Like he has no idea why people were making it a big deal that he, kind of jumped at the opportunity to step in here. Like we were talking this morning, he's like, I was wondering why my phone was blowing up, and I was like, I think people are looking at it as like a really cool thing that you're doing here. Like, of course you're the guy to do this. I think people started to catch on last year as to him kind of having babysitting duties a lot of the time. And, now you look at this now and people are like, wow, Pat's the guy that has been stepping up lately into this role. It's not surprising to me either that he thinks nothing of it. Like he jumped at the opportunity to do this and he 100% was willing to. So, but everybody knows how I feel about Pat. Wanted to bring up Deontay though, real quick. You mentioned him within there. How hilarious is it for a guy that has played with the exception of how many games, like a handful, in the NFL exclusively in the AFC North, to talk about not wanting to play in cold weather?
I mean, it's just, on one hand, I kind of get it. Like if it's freezing and you've been on the bench all game and it's now the fourth quarter and it's like, go play some garbage reps. It's like, nah, I'm good. I kind of get it, but it's just why would you ever admit it? like why? Like you gotta have a better answer for that question than that. Like,
yeah. Well, and here's the other thing that I'm looking at too. Like I get that, like you're saying 100%, but at that point already with where he was at, I don't think he was in a position to be able to do that either. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look at where he's at now, especially. I think that's evidence of it. I don't think that he's in a position to be able to turn down those reps, just because it's not like he's so high in the totem pole anymore. Like, what a fall off it's been since his time in Pittsburgh. And there's a lot of things that have been attributed to that, but certainly, I don't know. Has he ever who's given him PR lessons here? Like, does he have a team of people around him?
I don't know. Like, Deontay was always very good with the media in Pittsburgh. I will say that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember you saying that. Yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't know. I just think it's a dumb.
Didn't he come in second one year for the Rooney Award?
I voted for him for the Chief Award one year. I don't know if he came in second or not, but I did vote for him.
Yeah.
Probably 23. I think I did vote for him. Voted for Pat last year. So there you go. But like the other thing is, like you say, where he ended up now, he's the second best receiver on the Browns if he plays with his head on straight. None of anybody else.
Yeah.
David Bell, Michael Woods, and Cedric Tillman.
And Cedric Tillman, I'm a big fan of Cedric Tillman, but that concussion last year, how many games did he miss? Like 9 games with a concussion. Like
just DJ and Jerry Jeudy. I think he's going to be good if he can just
opportunity certainly there.
Yeah.
And the other part of that, which speaks to honestly everything else we talked about, it he's on like a vet min deal. Like they were very much.
It cost himself a ton of money. He was going to be a big money free agent. That's why the Steelers traded him in the first place. They didn't want to deal with his contract demands. And then it's like all of a sudden, no contract at all.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. Some shout outs, though. Some updated shout outs here on the bottom of the board. Christine Deal, Leonard Warren. I'm literally reading them as they scroll up across here. Devin Harris, Michael, is that Wine? I'm guessing. And Tristan Love of TNA Impact. Not really, but Alan and I were making that joke. Really cool here, though, within those shout outs. Gareth Warren's dad, is one of those, Leonard. And then we found out literally through a Google search here, Ben Sauls, the kicker, his mother also subscribed to SN Plus. So, hey, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, join in on the fun. Don't know if they're going to be part of the subscribers only chat next month, but we hope so. We'd love to see them.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
But good stuff. Appreciate that. Appreciate anybody that subscribed to SN Plus, obviously, and also here on the YouTube platform. But Alan, tell the people they can find you.
Saunders_PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now site's account. SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the words so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus. You can get a shout out. You can join our subs only live stream. You can get the SN Plus only content, and you get no ads at all of SteelersNow.com. And of course, anyone can sign up to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Get a notification every time we post a new episode of Steelers Morning Rush, Steelers Afternoon Drive, all that stuff. You don't want to miss a thing. We have 15,951 subscribers. I'm gonna let you go first here, Smitty.
You know, one of my favorite Steelers of all time were number 51. That's James Farrier, but that's too easy to go with, obviously. So I'm gonna go with a man that they were able to pull off the couch for retirement. Now, this was in his first stint. I think we came back, he was wearing 16, but Miles Jack, number 51 for the Steelers in his first go around.
I'm going to get a little old school here. I'm going Carlos Emmons, outside linebacker from the, I want to say like late 90s.
Okay.
Or 51.
All right. There we go. Let us know your favorite number 51.
There's a lot of linebackers out there. There's a lot of good answers here. A lot of good fit. Maybe not good Steelers, but good answers for our game here. There's a lot of good possibilities out there.
Yeah, so drop them down below in the comments, your thoughts on what we talked about today, a question for a future episode, all that good stuff. Again, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Leave us a 5-star review and subscribe if you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and then you'll find me, everywhere. I'll be reactivating Twitter in the coming time here. So Zachary Smith, PGH, Saunders, and myself, thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.